Good evening, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to tonight's masterclass. I am Mark, and it's a great pleasure to be here this evening, hosting as well as talking, because as many of you will have seen, Cindy is living the good life in Kathmandu, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So she has asked me to host myself in this masterclass presentation, which is an unusual thing. And I suppose it's also been quite a long time since I've actually done a class like this. So it's fun to be back behind the screen, back behind the camera, and talking to everybody. So let's run through a little bit of housekeeping, an outline for the evening. We're going to do a little welcome, little opening exercise to just come into the space. Then we're going to work through a few sections that I think are important for the topic tonight. The first and most important thing, I presume, for everybody is the question, am I called to do this sort of work? And we're actually going to shift that down to the bottom, because despite being the most important thing, it will fit better if we do it after we've covered some of the other subjects, because for that, I want to do a guided meditation. And we're going to do a guided meditation to connect to our soul and actually find out from our soul if we should actually be doing work as a healer, and if that should actually be in the form of a career. So we'll be starting off looking at the question of, am I capable of doing this sort of work? Am I worthy of doing this sort of work? Am I blocked from doing this sort of work? And once we've done the meditation, we will also go to a Q&A, because, I've obviously got what I think is important to me, and I don't know what's important to you in terms of this topic. So we will go to a Q&A, and Q&A is actually my favorite part of the whole thing, because, there's no time to prepare. So the answers are either channeled truth or honest truth from my experience. So, feel free to pose any question that comes to mind when we get to the Q&A. And when we get there, you'll notice that because we're doing this in meeting format, I've muted everybody, or the system has muted everybody, and the system has made it impossible for you to unmute yourself. This is because we've got 40-odd people in a meeting, and you can imagine the chaos that would ensue if everybody could unmute themselves or accidentally unmuted themselves, and we would be hearing everybody's background noises. So when we get to the Q&A, if you do want to actually speak, I will unmute you, so that's not a problem. So let us, now that most of the people are actually in the space, let's just take a couple of deep breaths and bring ourselves into this meeting. So take a few deep cleansing breaths and just relax the body, shake off any tension that you might be holding anywhere in the body. And perhaps just touch your heart center for a moment, because touching your heart center can take your awareness to your heart center. And as you touch your heart center, now start to follow your breath through the heart center. And just take a few breaths through the heart center, thinking about what your intention is for this evening. Obviously, it would be wonderful if as many of you as possible are fully engaged and fully present in the meeting. We start to create an energetic field around everybody gathered here. And this sort of builds up an energy field, and into the energy field flows consciousness. And that consciousness is then shared and accessed by everybody in the meeting. So set your intention on being fully present, taking a few breaths and just forgetting about everything else. Maybe putting the phone to one side so you're not checking your Instagram and your WhatsApp messages. just releasing any remaining tension from the body. And now perhaps just put into the little chat box at the bottom your name and where in the world you are. Because in this sort of post-COVID time, we find that the world is more of a village. The whole planet is accessible. And it's just wonderful for everybody to see where everybody is. So, yeah, wonderful to see so many of you and to recognize some of the names, which is great. Then, before we get started, one last little thing that I want to share with you is a poll. I need to close that. Try and get an idea of where everybody's at. I'm going to launch this little poll. You guys might see it come up on your screen. Just take a moment to take a look at that and maybe answer if you can. And that helps me to get a better understanding of where everybody is and what everybody's doing. Now, I suppose we should probably start with why me? Why am I giving this talk this evening? And I did wonder the same, but as I reflect on this, the question of why did Cindy ask me to present this seminar tonight with this masterclass? And it's probably because I went through this journey quite intensely. I was blocked. I felt unworthy. I felt incapable of doing this work. And although I was called, because I was so blocked and feeling so unworthy, I didn't hear the call for a long time. And what happened for me is I thought that I should be in this career that everybody else approved of. And so, I was striving to make it as an entrepreneur because, that's what I thought was approved by society, by my parents, by my friends. And because I was so blocked and wounded, it all came crashing down, and I lost a lot of almost everything. I had to sell the car, almost lost the house, was living on a few rands a day, really struggling to make ends meet, and it just all stopped, and nothing was working. And then when I started healing, at the time I started healing, I reflected back a few years later. I had like a whole handful of books on healing on my bookshelf. I had never considered healing as a career for myself, although I had more than 5 books on healing that I'd read. And I'd read a whole lot of spiritual stuff. I was on the spiritual path and doing, a lot of work on the consciousness and a lot of meditation, but I just never considered healing as a possibility for myself. And when I started healing, the door started to open for me. Every door that was once closed suddenly opened. People started coming, and several years down the line, I've got a pretty busy healing practice. And we'll get to that later, but I'm pretty much booked up 6 to 8 weeks in advance. I see about 20 clients a week. And if you had asked me 10 years ago if this was possible, I would have said no ways. So as we go through the presentation this evening, I'll share with you some of the things that I found useful, and hopefully you'll find them useful too. Okay, so let's take a look at the poll. So we've got about a third of the people who haven't done any healing, but are curious to try. Another third of the people are studying to be a healer. There's about 20% that have done a little bit of healing, but have never charged. And 16% of the people this evening who are already doing professional healing, but are looking to expand their results. Let's share that. There we go. Now you guys can see that. Okay. So that kind of tells us where we're at and what you guys are thinking about, I guess. So let's get the presentation up and we'll get started with that. Okay. So thanks for sharing your names and your locations. Welcome, everybody. Let's get this up. Okay. So as we look at the subject of, am I capable of being a healer? We kind of need to understand the healing landscape. Because whilst, the focus this evening is mostly on energy healing because, that's what the school teaches and that's what I do, it is worth considering that actually the whole healing landscape extends from pharmacists and pharmaceuticals all the way up to people who are doing purely energy work, people who are doing breath work or teaching breath work, and everything in between. Okay, so somewhere, if you are called to be a healer, somewhere within the entire field of healing, you'll find something that works for you. You'll find a modality that will work with your skills and your abilities and your beliefs and perhaps the gifts that you bring through from past lifetimes. So, in my practice, I come across people who have done healing work in previous lifetimes quite often and who face this question, should they start working professionally in the healing space? And quite often, there's something in their past, probably a recent past life, that has led to an interest in childhood, that has led to curiosity as they became adults, and they reach a space where they want to take another step. So quite often, somebody who was a herbalist in a previous lifetime would want to be a herbalist in this lifetime. Perhaps working with plant medicine or homeopathy or something along those lines. And what I've tried to do with this slide, which was actually quite difficult to do, is just try and indicate where a modality sits on a continuum on the physical to energetic line. So that horizontal line on the left, what I'm trying to show there is a healing modality that is pretty physical. And on the right-hand side, trying to show modalities that are more energetic. So energy healing, we don't do any physical work, we just do energy work. So it's like completely energetic. But on the other end of the continuum, like something like surgery, you break your arm and you go to A&E, they're going to do a very physical process there, and that is completely appropriate. Having been in surgery a few times, I'm very grateful for skilled surgeons to do that sort of work. And then there are some things that are quite hard to quantify on that continuum. So, for example, a chiropractor might do a pretty physical adjustment, but quite often there's a chiropractor who's doing a little bit of energy stuff as well, whether they're conscious of it or not. I've got a friend who's a physiotherapist that I see, and anyway, she came to me for a healing session, as well as one of her children, and I said to her, you guys are gifted, you guys have definitely done healing work in a previous lifetime. And that was why she chose, within her field of awareness when she was a teenager choosing a career, she was drawn towards healing, but what she was able to do at that stage of her life was study physiotherapy. And I've been to her for physiotherapy, and there's definitely energy work going on while she's doing the physiotherapy. My daughter went to her a few weeks back with a shoulder issue from swimming, and just intuitively she said, "Okay, there's something else going on, Yana," and she explained to us exactly what she intuited was the root cause of the shoulder issue. So, wherever you find yourself drawn in the field of healing, there's a way to bring your intuitive gifts and your past life gifts and your natural your natural curiosity and whatever it is you're drawn to. There's a space for you. Now, the reason that I believe in energy healing so much is because behind all of this, there's energy. And behind everything in the body, there's energy. And I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to energy healing. Like, if there's a problem, I explore what's going on energetically, even if it's a pretty physical thing, like I stumped my toe, that's a pretty physical event that causes a pretty physical injury and physical pain. But I'm like, okay, well, what's behind that? Why that toe? What does that toe mean? And what was going on in my life when I stumped that toe? So there's a lot to the energy, and I also believe that as a species, we are moving towards higher consciousness, and we're moving towards a greater understanding of the energy. And I see this in my practice because I have people coming to me who just 5 years ago would never have even thought it possible that they would be seeing an energy healer, and yet they're coming for energy healing. And I think as a species we've shifted enough that it is just like becoming a thing that more and more people are drawn towards, and more people are finding benefits, and people are seeing the results, because as we raise our consciousness and as our energy ascends, it becomes more likely that there is something energetic that is driving the problem. And it's also become easier for us to find that energetic problem. Because the frequency has shifted, healers are better able to identify the energetic blockage or wound behind the thing. And this in turn leads to positive feedback and more people coming into that healing space. And yeah, so why I feel this energy healing is important is because I think that we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. I think in a decade's time, there's going to be a whole lot more people coming for energy healing, and perhaps moving away from some of the more physical modalities, perhaps moving away from pharmaceuticals, or at least the pharmaceuticals of a lower level of consciousness. I don't want to say that pharmaceuticals are bad. I think some have a higher vibration than others. Okay. I had a toothache a few months ago. I had a problem with one of my teeth. I took Panado. Okay. I needed the painkiller. Went to the dentist, and the dentist gave me a painkiller for afterwards. That was what I needed. Other than that, I do try and avoid pharmaceuticals, but there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time when it's needed, and there's a time when it's not. But I think that people are moving away from that, and more people are looking for something a bit more conscious and perhaps a bit more energetic. Okay. So if you can find a place in that healing landscape for yourself, then do you feel worthy of choosing a career that you enjoy, a career that really makes your soul sing? Do you feel worthy enough to attract sufficient clients to make a living, to cover the costs that you need to cover to live on this planet? And yeah, do you feel worthy enough to charge? Now, all of this is a journey rather than a switch. It's not something that you suddenly, click a switch and feel worthy. And you don't suddenly attract, 20 clients a week from the get-go. It takes time to build up a practice, and it takes time to build a career. And it takes time for your rates, your charge rates to grow. So we put that all into a survey that we sent out. Some of you guys have seen the survey. We sent it to a lot of the graduates from the school, and shared it with a few groups that I know, and it was quite interesting because you get a sense of what other people are charging. I don't really know what too many people charge. I've only been to a handful of people that I go to, but it was really quite interesting to see that and to see how people's careers progress. And so I'm going to share that with you now. If I can get to, sorry, 1 second. I need to change my little Canva slide to that one. Okay. Let's share this. Okay, so to provide a brief understanding of who replied to the survey, the first question looks at how many years experience does the respondent have as a professional healer. Now here you can see most of the respondents have 1 year or less. 2 years or less, we're at 12%. So less than 4 years, we've probably got about 50% of the survey results. And then we had 25% of the survey with 10 or more years experience, and 2 people with about 8 years experience. Okay. These are the modalities that they're using because this was done through our community. Most of the people are doing energy healing. Okay. But a lot of people who do energy healing are also doing other modalities. And it's also true that some people do energy healing to complement something else. So, for example, there are quite a few people who study counseling who also become energy healers, and they work the two together. Some people teach yoga and do healing as well. So yeah, those are the modalities that are represented. And most people are doing a client session of about 60 minutes. So 37.5% of the respondents are doing a session of 60 minutes, 20% doing 75 minutes, and then 90 minutes is 8%, and 45 minutes is also about 8% or 7%. So you can see most people are doing sessions between 45 minutes and 90 minutes. Okay, so my sessions are about 75 minutes, just because I feel that's what I need to get through the session and without doing too much. Okay. Now, here's the interesting part is, what is your average charge rate per hour? Now, remembering that a lot of the people only had about 1 year's experience, or less than 4 years experience, this, on the left-hand side, we have $15 per hour or less, and on the right-hand side, we've got $150 per hour or more. Nobody was charging $150 per hour or more, but we had 2 people charging $130 per hour, 1 person charging $110 per hour, and 2 people charging $90 per hour. So, these at the top end of the scale, we probably find that those are the people who have the most experience. And, if you're thinking of whether or not you can have a career in the healing space, that's probably, this is probably where the rubber hits the road. This is probably like, can this work? Can I earn enough? Is it going to be viable? And, I'd say that it is. But I don't know what your living costs are. Okay. Okay, we'll take a look at this perhaps. Let's see if it works. I don't know if you guys can see that all right. It's years experience and charge rate. So on the left-hand side, 1 year or less professional experience, and you can see these colors correspond to $15, $30, $40, and $50 per hour. And then up to the right-hand side, people with 10 or more years experience, and you can see they're charging at the top end of that scale. They're $110 per hour or more, $100, $90, and then $70 and $60. So, people who've got 10 years or more experience are charging more, and they're charging, let's say, between $70 and $110 per hour for their sessions. Okay. How many client sessions do you do per week on average? So this question, this goes up in 2. So on the left-hand side, we have 2 sessions or less, and there's 8 people doing that. And on the right-hand side, 20 sessions a week or more. So you get an idea of what people are doing. It seems that most people are doing less than, or 10 or sessions or less per week. What we don't know is whether that's out of choice or just because they're still building up a client base. But I suspect a lot of people will be choosing that level or doing something else on the side, or just, happy to have the work-life balance. And the final question that we looked at was, where are the clients located? And in this survey, Europe and Great Britain got the larger portion of the answers. Over 75% of the respondents in this survey are getting most of their clients from Europe and Great Britain. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, I just had a fright there. Were you guys able to see that? Can somebody just give me a thumbs up? You guys saw those charts, eh? Okay, great. All right, let's go to the next slide on this survey. This slide, yeah. Okay. There's some interesting stuff that we probably need to take a look at, because if you're feeling called to become a healer and you think it could be viable, the obvious question is, well, what's stopping you? And one of the areas that the obstruction could come from is the ego. What will others think? What if I fail? What if I'm persecuted? So these are all the fears of the ego, the false identity that we hold of ourselves. And yes, these were my fears. This is what was blocking me. I was actually, it's laughable to think about it now, but I was worried about what other people would think about me, just given my background and my education and the people that I hung out with, I just thought, no, that this is just, not what's expected of me. And it's a bit silly, but, I'm glad I got past that. But it is a fear for a lot of people. And I think being aware of it is a big step towards overcoming it. So if it's there for you, just recognize it. Okay, because if you can recognize that you're afraid of doing something that you might love and that might be part of your reason for incarnating on this planet at this time, to think that you might not do that because you're worried about what other people will think, kind of like shows us how ridiculous that is. As real as it is, it kind of like puts it into perspective, and you might be able to move past it a bit easier with that. Of course, the fear of failure is a real thing. But I think that's also true of, any career that one chooses or anything that one chooses to pursue. There's that fear of failure. And sometimes the fear of failure is greatest for the thing that we care about the most. But again, recognizing it and being aware of that helps us to overcome it. Because if this is your soul path, if this is something that your soul wants you to do in this lifetime, then failure is really almost impossible. Because once you start and once you bring your heart and soul into it, you'll be driven towards success. And I'm saying that, and I'm also recognizing that our definitions of success change as we start to shift to higher levels of consciousness. And then, of course, there's the fear of persecution. The fear of persecution is different today. So I have like I mentioned, quite a few people come to me for healing who have had past life gifts and done healing work or psychic work in the past. And almost always they've been persecuted in the past. Now, some people suggest that more than 1 million witches were killed in the trials, in the witch trials in the 16 and 1700s. And yeah, quite often come across those wounds when I'm doing energy work. And whilst in this day and age, we are unlikely to be hung or burnt at the stake or drowned, modern persecution is more about public ridicule, people trolling your social media or your friends laughing at you, or just people saying horrible things. It is something that people are afraid of, and it's got very deep roots. But again, it's worth recognizing if it's there, because shining the light on our fears helps us to overcome them. Now, that persecution that people experienced in past lives often leads to energetic blockages. So let's come at this from a different way, a different angle. Besides these ego blockages, okay, so if we go back to these blockages that I'm calling the ego blockages, what happens when we start on a path of healing and we start to live through the heart and we allow our soul path to start unfolding, we can experience something that some people call an ego death. Now, the ego death is really when a part of the ego dies. The ego being the sort of false identity that we hold. And the ego death is really quite a traumatic experience for the ego. Now, as far or as deeply as we are identified with the ego, we will find that experience traumatic. So, for example, I mentioned that I was trying to live a life as an entrepreneur, and to the degree that my identity was associated with being an entrepreneur is the degree to which I suffered when that didn't work out. So when that identity was faced with failure, it was traumatic because of the ego identity with the with that identity. So as you walk along this path, being aware of what's happening makes it a lot easier. So as that ego death unfolds, you can actually allow it to die. You can allow the ego to become dislodged and to disintegrate, and to have less control over your life and over your life path. If you're unsure of what your ego identity is, take a look at your social media and see the sort of things that you're sharing on your social media, especially if you sort of go back a few years to when Facebook first launched, and you can, if you're not embarrassed by the type of things you shared on your Facebook when you first joined, then you've done pretty well. But all of this is kind of giving us a clue as to what the ego identity is or was. Okay. So if we take a step now towards the energy blockages, there are a number of key areas where people who are blocked in their careers, and especially people who are blocked on their healing career or the healing path, these are the areas that kind of like really show up a lot, when I work with my clients. Now, firstly, if we take a look at which of the chakras are blocked that are impacting career, it's going to be the base chakra and the solar plexus chakra and the heart chakra, as the most important chakras to really get that career energy going. Of course, if you want to do work in the energy healing sphere, or you want to do some psychic or intuitive work, then at some point you'll need to do some healing to the brow chakra and the crown chakra. But for anybody's career, whenever anybody comes to me and they're struggling with their career, it's going to be the base chakra and the solar plexus chakra and the heart chakra. Then we look at the past life wounds. So when somebody has been persecuted in a past life, now so many healers have had these lifetimes where they were hung or burnt at the stake for what they called witchcraft. That leaves an energetic wound in the energy field. Quite typically in the first layer of the aura, there'll be a wound from the physical trauma, but it also leaves an emotional trauma, sometimes within the heart field, as a fragmentation of the heart field, which we might call soul loss, or a wound in the heart field, and also then in the soul. So the energy of the soul, which is kind of like another layer to our energy field that kind of sits and surrounds our energy body, that soul can become fragmented through trauma. It can have wounds from those traumas, and it can also become dislodged from the body. So we start looking at something that I call the soul embodiments, and when there's been a lot of trauma, the soul isn't fully embodied through our physical body and through our energy body. It's kind of sitting separate from our energy body and from our physical body. Now, the soul embodiment comes through the assemblage point, and the assemblage point comes through the heart center. When you heal the assemblage point, you allow the soul to be fully embodied. This is perhaps one of the single most important things for getting somebody flowing on their life path, to getting their life moving forward. I did a session for a client recently, also, gifted, past life gifts, was struggling with questions around career, did the healing to the assemblage points, and I saw her again after about 3 weeks. And she just said it had been like such a roller coaster for the 3 weeks, because she suddenly realized that her corporate career was just not aligned with her at all. And she was now ready to take that next step. And she was very excited about it. But, also experiencing some of that ego death that we had spoken about, and some of the challenges that one has to face when making a life change. Now, those challenges might not be avoidable, but we can make them easier. Okay, just by approaching them consciously. Okay, so we work on the soul embodiment, and you get your soul really connected to your body and to your energy, and that really opens up the path for you. Then there's something that I call the career aspect. We've got there's 10 primary aspects that I've identified so far, and there are a couple of secondary aspects, 17 secondary aspects. But the most important when it comes to career is the career aspect. So the career aspect is all your energy related to career across all lifetimes. So whenever you're thinking about your career, whenever you're working, all that energy sits in its own energy field, permeating all the layers of your aura, and permeating your entire energetic anatomy. So when somebody was persecuted for their career, as in being burnt at the stake, you can imagine there's going to be a lot of damage done to the career aspect. So in those situations, I find the career aspect 70% damaged, 80% damaged, sometimes as much as 90% damaged. There'll be wounds in the career aspect, fragments broken off the career aspect, and quite typically in that situation, the person is going to be struggling in their career, whether they're on the right path or not. It's going to be it's not going to be flowing at full strength. Okay. Then, of course, we can have blocked money issues or bank issues. So there's a secondary aspect for money and finance, and then our bank has its own energy. It's not related to who you bank with, but within your energy field, you have energy for your bank, and this sort of holds your bank accounts. And that can also be quite damaged where we had lifetimes of poverty, or where we haven't, valued ourselves and haven't allowed ourselves to earn money, or where we've taken vows of poverty, vows of renunciation, which comes up sometime when people perhaps haven't had lifetimes of doing psychic or healing work, or if they hadn't been persecuted for witchcraft, perhaps they were in the church or one of the religions where they did a vow of renunciation, and this can make it quite difficult to then start earning money, because we've made a vow at the level of the soul to not earn money, and now we're trying to earn money, and there's this conflict between our soul and ourselves. And then if you've started a healing business, or any business really, that business has its own energy field, and this energy field is what people interact with when they're thinking about coming to you for healing. So I'll tell you a little story about this. Many years ago, I was involved with a small spiritualist church nearby. And because I've got a background in business, I was the treasurer for a period of time. And I was just tracking the weekly collection. And the other thing that we had, we were hosting talks twice a month, and I was just tracking all of this in a spreadsheet. So I had a spreadsheet, and I knew exactly how much we collected, first week of the month, second week of the month, third week of the month, and so on. And I'll track this over a period of time, and you can see like a trend. And what was very interesting is when there was conflict on the committee, the collections dropped off. When the committee was harmonious and happy, collections went up. And I saw this a number of times. If there was a disagreement at the committee, collection dropped off. And this is kind of what's happening with your business energy. When your energy is good, your business energy is good. When your energy is down, your business energy is going to be down. And you'll be able to see how many bookings are coming in, how many inquiries am I getting, and you'll be able to fix that. Actually, it's pretty straightforward. Sorry, the cat is coming to say hi, but getting in the way of my notes. Let me just put it down. All right, so that is that. Am I called? Great. We're on to the final step before Q&A. Now, if you have sat here through this presentation so far of about 45 minutes, if you've signed up for this webinar, you are called. I mean, I think that is pretty clear, because nobody else would have actually signed up for this webinar. Nobody else would have sat and listened to this. But being called and doing something about it are two very different things. And not everybody who is called works as a professional healer. So back in the day, many years ago, when I was involved at that spiritualist church, I had the privilege of meeting the most powerful healer I've ever come across. She was 90-something years old and healed every Sunday night before the service. We did voluntary healing before the service. And that's probably where I actually first started doing healing, was doing this voluntary healing before each Sunday service. And she did that every week for decades. I mean, probably for 70 years of her life. I went to her one night, toothache. I was having such severe toothache. I was in so much pain. If my teeth touched, I was like wincing, it was so painful. She put her hands like this on my face. As I was lying on a healing bed with my eyes closed, she put her hands on my face, and after 5 minutes, the pain was gone. Gone. She was, I mean, and she had so many stories, people in that community would tell stories about the healings that she had done. She never charged for healing ever. In those 70 years as perhaps the most powerful healer I've ever come across, she never worked professionally as a healer. She just did it voluntarily. And for some people, that is perfectly okay. And perhaps it's also a different era. She comes from an era where perhaps she didn't have to have a career because her husband worked. And most of us don't live in that sort of time anymore. Most households require a double income. But there are a lot of people who are healers who never do so professionally, and a lot of people who are healers but are actually working in other careers but do the healing on the side or as part of what they're doing. They're just bringing a message, they're bringing a level of consciousness into their environment. Yeah, and I was at I don't know if any of you guys were at Spirit Fest on the weekend. Just say how's it on the chat. Tell me what you thought about it. But I was at Spirit Fest on the weekend here on the garden route in South Africa, and I did a cacao ceremony with somebody who works with plants, but she does rehabilitation of like farmland and so on. And this is just another form of healing. You know, she's employed as like a landscaper, and you know, by the government and by farm owners and so on. And she brings in what she's doing consciously is bringing in different plants to that are required to heal the land. You know, she's healing, but she's not, you know, she's not a healer professionally, but she's healing, you know. So all of these things are possible, and there's many variations and ways to do it. Okay, so moving on. I've been rambling on for too long now. It is time to okay. It is time for us to do a little meditation. So what we're going to do in this meditation is we're going to do a relaxation. And what I find with meditations is if we get the first part done well, the body of the meditation will be quite easy. Okay, so we're going to do a relaxation. We're going to do some breath. We're going to do some sensing through the body. We're going to connect to source. We're going to open up the heart. We're going to ground ourselves and connect to the earth. And all of these steps are very important. Okay, we're also going to connect to our higher self and do some energetic protection. So this first part of the meditation will probably be about 10 minutes. But if we do it properly, then the next part of the meditation takes care of itself. And the next part of the meditation, we're going to connect to your soul. And this will be quite easy once we've done the first part. Okay. And when we get to the soul, I'm just going to guide you to contemplate things, see how it feels. I'll prompt you with a few questions, but you'll also be able to ask your own questions. Okay. And I'll give you a bit of time there, and then I will slowly bring you back into your body, back down to the earth, into your chair with your feet on the ground. We'll pull the aura in again and do everything that's necessary. Okay. And then once we're done, we can go to a Q&A and see if there's any questions. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this meditation so that if you want, I can share it with you. I'll get it edited, and then it'll be ready in about a week or so. So just give me a second, Joe, to get ready. All right. Okay, guys, allow yourselves to get comfortable. Just take a few deep cleansing breaths. Maybe just adjusting yourself so that your body is adjusting yourself so that your body is comfortable. And with a few big exhalations, just release any tension that you might be holding in your body. Allowing the shoulders to soften and relax. Releasing any tension from your jaw. Relax the scalp and the forehead. And take your awareness to your breath. As you follow your breath, Allow the tummy to expand as you breathe in. And this allows the air to be drawn to the lower part of the lungs. And now with your next few breath cycles, count your breath in for a count of 4 and out for a count of 4. Now, following your breath in this way is probably one of the easiest ways to take the mind into an alpha state. You might notice yourself slipping more deeply into relaxation as you follow your breath. Now, with your next exhalation, follow the energy down to your feet. And take a moment to sense the energy of your feet. Feel your feet on the ground. And notice how they feel. Perhaps you'll notice how the energy feels between your feet and the earth. As you focus on this energy and this connection to the earth, set an intention in your mind on being grounded. Perhaps just stating a simple affirmation in your mind: I am grounded. You might feel that earth energy coming up through your feet and up your legs as you bring your awareness to the base of your spine. As you focus on the energy at the base of the spine, set another intention on being grounded. Perhaps feel the energetic connection from the base chakra to the earth. And now bring your awareness up to your heart center in the middle of your chest. Taking a few breaths through the heart center. Set an intention on bringing yourself into alignment with your higher self. Your higher self is that part of you that is in constant contact with the divine. The part of you that contains all knowledge and all wisdom. And the part of you that has access to all the answers to any question that you might ask. And you can do that quite simply by stating a simple affirmation in your mind: I am aligned with my higher self. And you might notice an expansion at the chest as you say that. You might feel your energy field growing stronger. Now take your awareness up to the top of your head. Take a moment to sense the energy of your crown chakra. You might feel a tingling sensation where the crown chakra meets your scalp. From your crown chakra, take your awareness further upwards Take your awareness up to the highest points of light that you can imagine, up to the source of all creation. And as you connect to the source of all creation, allow yourself to connect to the energy of unconditional love and infinite joy. And as you connect to this energy of love and the energy of joy, set an intention in your mind on bringing yourself into alignment and into attunement with the light. And then invite that light to pour down into your body. Imagine a powerful pillar of light coming down through the top of your head and down into your heart center in the middle of your chest. And as you bring your awareness back to your heart center, take a few breaths of that divine light through your heart center. Imagine breathing the energy of unconditional love and infinite joy through your heart. Smiling in your heart. Now perhaps you will imagine this energy as pure white light. With your next 3 breaths, breathe this pure white light infused with love and infused with joy. Breathe this light throughout your entire physical body. Use your breath to send this light down to the tips of your toes, to the top of your head, to the ends of your fingers. And with your next 3 breaths, breathe this light beyond the body. Allow the light to radiate beyond your physical body, creating a sphere of perfect white light that surrounds you and protects you. And now, as you bring your awareness back to your heart center, set an intention on connecting to your soul. This can be done quite simply by stating a simple affirmation in your mind. I am now connecting to my soul. You might find this energy surrounding you, or you might find it helpful to take your awareness up your divine channel in the direction of the Creator. And as you set that intention on connecting to the energy of your soul, observe how your body responds. Notice how the energy feels. Be aware of any thoughts or emotions that arise within your consciousness. And imagine looking at your soul. Simply noticing the images that arise within your consciousness. You can say hello and greet your soul. And send love from your heart to your soul, creating a loving, energetic connection. You can ask your soul if it wants you to become a healer. And how that might look for you specifically. Perhaps you can ask what your next step should be. And spend a moment or two asking any other questions that you might have for your soul. And then start to wrap things up with any final questions. Expressing love and gratitude for your soul. Giving thanks for the guidance. Perhaps setting an intention to visit more often. And then when you're ready, saying goodbye. Slowly starting to bring your awareness back towards your body. As you become aware of your body, take a few breaths, following your breath through the body. Taking your awareness to your feet, feeling your feet on the ground. Setting an intention on being grounded. Or simply stating a simple affirmation in your mind, I am grounded. As you focus on the energy of your feet, feeling that connection between your feet and the earth, perhaps moving your toes. I'm grounded. And bringing your awareness to your heart center. Taking a few breaths now through the heart center, and with each inhalation, draw your energy field inwards, pulling your aura close to your body. Setting an intention on drawing your chakras inwards. Just to desensitize the chakras and the aura, pulling them in closer to the body. Now imagine surrounding your entire energy field with a field of pure white light, protecting your energy field. And then imagine wrapping yourself in a cloak, a velvet cloak, You can choose the color of the cloak. Wrap this velvet cloak around your energy field. Draw it inwards, tie it around your waist. You can place a hood over your head if you like. And then take a few more deeper breaths now through the body, perhaps stretching, perhaps moving your fingers, moving your feet. Slowly becoming aware of the space around you, perhaps the sounds in your home, the light through your eyelids, bringing yourself back towards a waking state of consciousness. And with a few more breaths, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right. Let's see, it'd be great if you guys could put your videos on. I just want to make sure everybody's looking all right and back in their bodies. Nobody's still flying off with the fairies. Everybody here? Okay, great. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just share something else. There we go. Q&A. Then my contact details for anybody who wants those. And then this is the link to the, so what I'm going to do with that meditation is I'll get it edited and it should be ready in a week or so. And then whoever signs up on this list can get the meditation. Okay, there's my contact details if you want to take them. But what we're going to do now is actually a Q&A. So let me stop the share. I'm going to find the link for that. Sorry, I want to put the link into the chat, and then you guys, it's easier to copy. It's the chats. Okay, so if you register there, I will share the meditation when it's ready. I'll put it on my website so you guys can go and listen to it if you want to repeat that. And there are a couple of other meditations I've got that should be available on that website. Otherwise on mine. But what we're going to do now is a Q&A. And while we're doing the Q&A, I'd love to just hear your feedback on that meditation. So maybe if everybody just shares some feedback, if you're called to do so, what did you like most about that meditation? Or did you get a message from your soul? You know, what did you manage to connect to your soul, and did you get a message? Put that in the chat, because I think it's nice for me to go through that, you know, with the recording. I won't be able to read it all now. But it's nice for you guys to see other people's experiences, because we can learn quite a lot from each other and from the experiences others have. So yeah, put some feedback from that meditation into the chat box. And then if you've got questions, okay, questions, because the chat box is being used, you can put your thumbs up, put your hand up. I think there's like a symbol or something. There's a thing, and we'll take questions. So you can just do this, or, you know, get my attention, or you can put it into the chat. And I'll try and see if I can keep up with the chat, but that's going pretty fast already. So let's say Q&A, like put your hand up, and I'll come to you, and I'll unmute you, and we can take questions. No questions. Nobody, no questions, or nobody brave enough to ask a question out loud yet, because you're all coming out of a deep meditation. You're all still like in a different zone. Pippa, there we go. We got a winner. Okay. Pippa Brown. Okay, so I've got to ask you to unmute. What is going on there? I thought I'd stop that. Okay. See if you can unmute yourself. There we go. Pippa, go ahead.
Hiya, hi everyone. I was just well, first of all, thank you so much for that meditation. It was amazing. Um, and my question was, how, as a healer, do you protect your own health when you're working with clients? Because as my understanding is that you have to protect the solar plexus as much as possible when you're working with a lot of clients and their energy and what they're bringing up. So how do you go about that?
So, protection is mostly about imagining or creating an energetic field in the thought realm of a field of light around an energy field. So if you're protecting your solar plexus, you can imagine it surrounded by a sphere of light, or you can imagine like a shield. Some people like to imagine putting on a suit of armor, like metal armor or crystal armor. Um, but the most important thing about meditation, well, firstly, any thought form protection that you do is temporary. So if you create, so what's actually happening in the thought realm is you're creating energy that surrounds that field of energy. So in this case, it might be the solar plexus, but really when I'm healing, I'm surrounding my entire energy field with light. I'm also calling in archangels to be in that space, to protect the space, to keep that energy at a high vibration. But the most important thing about energetic protection is healing your own energy field, because any breach of your energy field is going to be via a wound or a blockage that has not yet been dealt with. So to the extent that your energy field is still damaged will be the extent that it's vulnerable. But there's this magical thing that happens in the universe that you'll get clients at your level. So you're not going to be attracting somebody who's dealing with demonic possession until you're ready to deal with such a thing. You will get clients coming to you at your level. And so whilst protection is necessary, you're not going to be battling the dark forces until you're ready to do so. Okay. But keep up the healing and your energy will get stronger. There's something else that I recommend people do, and that's called light body strength. On my website, markbind.com, I've got a download page, I think. And I've got a meditation where I talk about some advanced protection techniques, one of which is light body strength. And, I insist people, but with my meditation group, I'm always banging on about doing light body strength and building up your energy field, because it's a field of energy and it's like a muscle. You can build it and you can make it stronger with your intention. I don't see any other questions coming up, so I'm going to tell you. Okay, there's three things on that meditation that I look at. Light body strength is the one. The other one is sealing your energy field. So, energy, a field of energy as its characteristics, and you can seal it, like you would if anybody's done any sketching. If you remember doing sketching at school with a pencil or charcoal drawings, once you've done it, you'll spray it with like a sealant, like a film. I forget the name of it. There must be somebody, but that's like sealing it. Or if you've done any woodwork, once you've done some woodwork, you might seal that substance. If you've done a paint finish, you'll put a sealant over it. So it's kind of similar to that. And then reducing permeability of the energy field. So, people who are very empathic, sometimes their energy feels too permeable. It's got like leaks. It's too spongy. And with your intention, you can breathe light into it and you can reduce the permeability of the energy field. Okay, so I don't see any other hands going up here. Let's see if there's anything on the chat. Any other questions coming up? Okay, so let's take a look at what's coming up in the chat. I'll see if I can see any questions there. Okay. Some people didn't get answers in the meditation. Okay, that's not unusual. It's probably quite bold of me to go straight for the apex, straight for the most powerful meditation one can do with a group of people who perhaps haven't done a lot of meditation before. Connecting to the soul is like, it's a big deal. And if you didn't get answers, that's fine. The answers it might simply be that they're not through to the conscious mind yet. So you might find that they will arise over the next few days, perhaps when you're in the shower, perhaps in a dream, perhaps it'll just start surfacing because you've opened the door and you've asked for the answers. They're there. It's about the ability to receive the answers, and that can take a bit of practice if that's unusual. When is the cutoff time to apply for the course? Thank you, Sabrina. I was going to get into a lot of trouble if I didn't tell you guys this. Okay, there's a little bit of time, and they will make provision for people who still want to do the healing course with the School of Intuition and Healing. There's space for the Cape Town in-person healing course. They'll do last-minute applications and interviews. So if you're in Cape Town and you want to do it in person, in the flesh, gather in a room together, there's space, and they will still take applications for that, because I think it is starting imminently. I'll see if I can see that now. Also, the online course that is starting shortly also has a little bit of space. And so you can still get in touch with Cindy and set up an interview. So get in touch with the school if you're interested, and you can set up an interview, and they will, if appropriate, there's still time to get on that course. London has an in-person course starting in November. Okay, so if you're in the UK, if you're close to London, you can do it. That'll start in November. Psychic development and mediumship progressions with the school are internationally accredited. They have new dates starting towards the end of May and are currently doing interviews. Okay, so that's psychic development and mediumship. In-person events will be on recording for those in London and Cape Town. So there's always an option. Okay, let me see if I can see the dates. But I really think these are like imminent, as in starting in the next month or so. So that's actually quite great because, if you want to keep the momentum going, you can, if you've got a yes and you want to take action, you can take action, and you can probably get started within, 4 to 6 weeks, either in Cape Town in person or online. There's a question here, do I do trance healing? I don't do trance healing. The school doesn't teach trance healing, so I don't know too much about trance healing, but I do like to be in control of my faculties. Yeah, the school doesn't teach trance healing because it is a specialist thing, and there is a risk to it. And if you want to know about the risk to trance healing, you can take a look at what happened with the guy formerly known as John of God. And you can Google the controversy around him. Where do the in-person gatherings take place? I don't know, Sabrina. In Cape Town, I'm suspecting it would be in the southern suburbs. In London, I'm not sure. Because I don't think there's a dedicated space. I know the school used to use a venue in North London, North Central, but I don't know where their space is at the moment. What do I do on a daily basis to keep my energy high? Thank you, Julianne. So, very important question. Healing is actually a lifestyle. And, if you starting to do some self-work and you're doing some healing, well, it's kind of, becomes a daily practice. I do meditation and intentional breath on a daily basis when I'm working. So weekdays I check and clear my energy morning and evening, and in between sessions if I need to. I do a lot of spirit release work. So sometimes I'm dealing with the dark and the dangerous. So I do keep very close tabs on my energy. But yeah, mostly the most powerful thing is just some intentional breath, breathing light into different fields of energy, and it keeps it good. I exercise. Exercise is another very good thing for keeping your energy good. I've noticed that when I have clients, the clients who exercise always have strong energy. So I do quite a lot of physical exercise to, also just to, get out of the house and do something physical. Also, it's quite grounding, doing energy work all day long. It's quite nice to, at the end of the day, go and do something physical and come back into the body quite strongly. Julianne is saying in London they meet near St. John's Wood. Okay. Let me just see if there's any other questions I've missed on this chat. Yeah, combining art with healing. Nice. I like that, Wendy. Powerful. You can, arts is very powerful way to heal, and music, music touches so many people. All right. Okay, guys, if there's no more questions, I think we can wrap things up. I have really gone over time because I did blab on a little bit and I forgot to check the time. So apologies that I've kept you here past your bedtime, if it is past your bedtime. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. If you need my deets, there we go. You can get in touch with me, others at the school. The slide deck will be shared tomorrow, I think. I'll send the slide deck to Josh, and he'll send it with the recording tomorrow, along with the link if you want to get access to the meditation. Otherwise, thank you very much for being here. It was really great to be sharing again, and hopefully I'll be doing more of it this year. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.